Hi, Bruce. It's been a bit since we've been here.
It's been quite some time. What's been going on?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
We're still here.
Still here. Yeah,
Yes,
actually,
we are.
a lot's been going on. And with you, Bear, can I start with just a story?
Start with however you want.
Okay.
I'm just along for the ride. I'll steer it.
Okay. Sounds good. I was on my run today and I was thinking about, I had this moment in the kitchen. I know you'll remember this a couple weeks ago. And you know me. I'm pretty hard on myself. I can really beat the shit up out of myself over things. And I've done that a lot of my life from my past choices. Yeah?
And really,
Yes.
that's generally true.
Yeah.
True. Then.
So a couple weeks ago, I had this moment in the kitchen and a song came on and it was called Celebrate Me. And I just stopped. I felt like God was like, listen to the words of this. So it was just me in the kitchen. I was in my scrubs, getting ready going to go to work. And I felt this feeling inside of me of all the work that I've done on myself and how I feel about myself now, because I used to beat the shit up out of myself. And now I'm much more kind and tender and realizing like all of that was to bring me where I'm at right now. So I had this moment of feeling like, God, I've become the woman that I've been looking for. I became her, or I'm becoming her, I guess you can say. I'm not there yet. But here's the part that I felt like really brought it all together for me was you came up from downstairs up into the kitchen and you looked at me and we locked eyes. And it was like you nodded your head and you smiled. Yes, Rene. And I got tears in my eyes and I was just overwhelmed with, I don't know, love for me, love for you, love for our life. And I had that moment and I feel like that because of how you've grown and what you've done in yourself gave me the ability to start to feel that about myself.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I remember that. I was downstairs. I think I don't remember what the context of the morning was, but I think I just got done doing my neurofeedback. I think I was on one morning also. I generally get
What?
just with the stress and then whatever was happening. Around that time, breakfast time, usually things begin to settle down a bit. We go through our process and working out and all that. Then I remember coming upstairs and right when I came upstairs, I saw you in the kitchen and I heard the lyrics, I celebrate me and all the things I've been through. And she continued on, and then you looked over at me and yep, I see it. That's exactly, and I'm like, it was considerably louder. You can play your music at 7 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing right now. I think we're in a self-acknowledgement phase, and this has touched something. I did feel the gravity moment for sure. And then when we saw each other, like when we kind of did our gaze, it was palpable. I could feel there was definitely some presence there inside of the gravity of it. And what I shared with you this morning after we talked a little bit about that was, had I been like I used to be, I would have walked right through that. I would not have recognized that coalesce of the moment to that time where it's like, shit, I just got to get moving here. I'm a little bit late. I got going. I got to go in the shower, get breakfast, whatever, and the stress of the day. And so to that end, the work that we've done since our last podcast.
Yeah, because
This has been significant.
So pause there. Yes, and what I said the last time we did.
It was 23 years.
23, yeah. And that was, the last one we did was the DUI with Casey. Yeah. And so much has happened since then. And that's really what we're going to do with the podcast is just share more of, I shared a moment of right now. He shared a moment of right now. What we're going to do is just, what's been that time? What's happened in those years? Because a lot has. Because if I got to a point where I could celebrate me, you saw me, and I realized I could be in that space because of who you are and what you've done, that magic that we have together.
Yeah, I agree. It's been quite a journey. What would you say, looking back since then, you know how I'm not a fan of the single biggest thing?
Oh, are you
What's
going to
the-
say it? Like,
We're going to say, what's the single biggest thing that made the single biggest difference for you? And you don't have to pick the single big. You could just pick one.
no, this is the overarching, the biggest thing. But then it's all the details that will come from that as we continue with the podcast. It's God. Literally, it's
Mm-hmm.
only more about God. I was,
Not like
I was going to. I'm producing the same.
okay, finds over. So that's flipping epic. And okay, next, what other questions?
No, that, reflecting back to, honestly, reflecting back to standing outside the jail, was a pretty rock bottom moment for us in our life. And where we are now, hindsight's great because you can look back and see a whole bunch of things versus when you're in it. God's been the thing that for me is my relationship with God. This is what I call it for me. It's the dance with God and that connection and that Christ within me. And I'll let you speak to your own thing, but I think we each have been doing that part of connecting to that. And then that's brought that into our marriage. And then that's brought that into our life. So really God, in the sense of the true meaning of Christ within, I'd never previously read the Bible. I honestly sometimes don't even understand it. But you bring clarity of what it actually means in my life in a practical way. I'm grateful for that. So that's a little bit about what I mean.
But so I'm a little bit more specific. So we're talking about, so you said the single biggest thing is God.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. Your connection, and like your connection of how you commune with the word or with God's message. That doesn't come all at once. It doesn't just rush in. And how did that
happen?
How did you start to, like, what cracked open? Obviously, we were in a novel situation. Our son was in jail. It was New Year's Day. We were like, holy shit, what is our life become? This is a absolute shit show. From that point, like when we didn't just wait, like he didn't come through the clouds and that's it. Here I am, old and not forsaken you. Like none of that stuff happened.
No. And I think for me, like thinking back to the jail, thinking about now, like we started this daily disciplines. We started we did the 75 hard, work it out, no drinking. Drinking was a big thing, removing that out of our life.
We hadn't done Live Hard year.
No.
We just didn't like 75 hard, but we celebrated at the end.
Okay. But I think our daily disciplines that we started with that put on the path of that's not when I started to connect to God, but that was an opening to start that process. And I can tell you distinctly for me, when I had it was a blow up with Jade around Thanksgiving one year. And I was like, I got to get myself a coach. Like, I got to figure this out. This isn't good. I need a coach. So I got myself a coach and originally was just going to do some fitness stuff with her just to do that. And then I went into the mindset because that happened with Jade. And the single biggest thing, and this is why in my social media posts, I'm like, God will meet you wherever you're at. You don't have to go to church. God met me in the dark. My coach said to me, talked to him. She's like, you really have some things you got to work on if this is what happened. She's go into the dark, put some music on, and you might for days hear nothing. But you do that enough every single day, something's going to start to open up. And it did. And it wasn't the burning bush. It wasn't any of those things. It was a slight. When I listened, I would remember something from maybe my childhood, or the song would evoke a feeling. And then I would journal, and I would journal with what I remembered. And that opened the door to really hearing God in my life, connecting with God daily. I went into the dark. I put music on. God speaks to me through music. I can be out running. God will speak to me through music. I'll just have drop-ins.
what actually happened? Do you think it was more of the preparation and disciplines that set up that moment for you to be open
Absolutely.
to?
Absolutely. That's why I
There's
said I started with the daily disciplines. We read every day. I would read, I've always read spiritual, self-help, how to be better books. It's that set the foundation. So when I was told go into the dark, then it just opened something up for me. Then we read Neville Goddard, which actually helped me to understand things that Miles Monroe talked about with the Bible and understanding the feeling injury. I don't want to say get into all the details, but those were the things that started me to be able to actually feel God
Yeah.
in my life.
So I remember that obviously blow up thing around Thanksgiving. And I remember both of us actually, I feel like because of where we were in our life and what had happened in to 10 months prior to that,
Yeah.
I feel like that whole setup to that point was like a drawdown of the defenses because neither one of us came away from that misunderstanding or that essentially it was a call out she did with us, which was factual in some level, and it was somewhat not totally the whole picture of the story. But both of us looked at that. I know I did. I looked at that. There's probably something here. What is it? Is there something that I can let go? Because I don't want to continue in this same course. Because if I do that, then now all of a sudden I'm alone. There's nothing that I want to be alone about regarding my family or at odds with. So I feel like that point up till that moment, and I remember distinctly what happened to me after. I immediately started to listen to Untethered Soul. I had to listen to that 5, 6, 7 times. And that started to kind of crack me open. Then I heard we were listening to Andy Frisella a lot, or 75 Hard. And then Wes Watson came on the scene. And then I started to grasp this concept of finding out my best version of me and gifting that to the world, but it was covered with so much crap. So up to that point, we had done that and we had become not isolated, but we were in our own little thing because of what we had to deal with. And that was starting a new business and going through. It was tenuous at best. Yeah, that's the easiest way to put it. The Times was an absolute shit show for the movie. Yeah, next. But I think that
We're still here.
we are still here. I think that because of those things, again, looking, God's hand was there.
Well,
And this is one of the things that I want to make this point about the sterilized religious concept. He came in and I saw this big thing open and the clouds parted and I had this wonderful revelation. It was like, that didn't happen to me. It's actually didn't happen to me except for one time much later. And it wasn't anything, it was more of a vision. But I always looked at, oh no, did he forget about me? Because all these other people are all professing all these things. And then I really looked at it, their life still kind of sucks. I don't want that. I think through all of those things, we had to contract and focus and then unraveling. I remember when you got your coach.
Yeah.
And I watched you start to change. I'm like, this is not going to go on going with my program, do my stuff, which is really through that whole process. We did find Neville Goddard, and that cracked me open to being able to unpack the Bible and the messages in a different way, to where now I look back on him and he had one way of looking at it for him, and I still use it. And then I also more now rely on what does this particular scripture mean to me right now? Because I go back to some scriptures that I've read multiple times and they mean a different thing sometimes. Right. And it's a different place because it's always changing. You're like, you never stick your foot in the same river twice.
You would ask me, what was my one biggest thing? And we went on that tangent with that. So tell me, what is your one biggest thing between that? You alluded to some of them, I'm sure, but thinking for a moment, what is your one big thing? As in God, yours could be.
Yeah, but definitely my connection to God and to the understanding that, like, the word, it's a living word, not in the weird way. Is there's messages and there's messages all over the place, but I feel like the way that I interpret that is different in terms of the psychological, like, first of all, the actual historical things that happen throughout the Bible. But then I always look at it as psychological drama between a man's ears. And they're represented in different ways throughout that. It's a little Neville Goddard-ish from Miles Monroe, also like his contributions. But I think probably, I would say one of the biggest things that I look back on that time that made a difference for me was appreciating the physicality of being able to change my body. 'Cause, I mean,
Yeah.
at one point I was a 7% body fat, something like that. It was crazy. And I had struggled with that forever. And I got so much more confidence from that. And then, like, things started to build, but I wouldn't have ever gotten there had I not had the discipline. So I think that the inside of what I wanted was to change my body. And I thought, based on West Swanson, like, I thought I was going to, like, just blow it up and be this fit over 50 guy. And I was going to coach people, and I realized that is not for me. But I did change myself. And inside of that, I could have done that if I didn't build the disciplines. And then the disciplines set me up to be more open, because, like, if it's the paradox, if I have more discipline, I have more freedom. And it sounds weird, but I do. Because I know the things that I have to do. I know how my mind works. I know how to sell to myself. And I know how to navigate that. I can see myself instantly now. I feel the drift. And I know how to correct. I know how to at least bounce back or reach out to someone that can help me. So through the changes in my body, I realized I can do other things through discipline. And that's where I learned more sales skills and more communication skills, which has really blown things up. And then mixing that with awareness, mixing that with reverence to the word, and just how things, you can set things up in a way from visualizing to getting in touch with the Neville Goddard talks about the feeling nature, or Wallace Waddles, whatever, the feeling nature, all of those things. I think it was just this snowball.
Yeah,
And it's kind of
absolutely.
picking up momentum. But none of that would have happened. None of it had we had not gone through that January 1st, 2020, standing out at the jail,
Yeah.
wondering what the hell.
What the fuck is going on in my life? That's what I was thinking. Yeah. And it wasn't even just him. It was you and your happiness and yourself. And I think, gratefully, thank you, God, our relationship has been able to just withstand all of the things we've been through, and not withstand it in a bit. Like, we just have always chosen to stay strong together in it. And
then that was, at some point, that was the only thing. If we didn't have that, we'd been like, okay, this life raft, is it working? Let's just jump over into the shark infested water and see what happens. But we never did that.
yeah, but I'm meaning so many things around us at that time felt like they were just crumbling away, and gratefully that our relationship was not one of those things. And that's where we could, I remember you saying to me, this was what happened with Casey. You were like, this is not your fault, but you're like, I was a bad
It was
example.
totally my fault.
And I was a bad example. And you're like, I'm no longer drinking.
Yeah, I glorify.
Yeah. And you said, I'm no longer drinking. There was no question in my mind of me neither. I knew me neither because I felt like God had been saying that to me, but there would be no question that I would be like, yeah, we are in step together and here's where we're going. And
it was almost like in Scrooge, where he sees the ghost of Christmas future, and he's, oh, what all of the Tiny Tim is then, all these things, whatever.
right.
And then he realizes, oh my God, I don't have to go through that. That's literally what I felt like when I look at that situation. I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a second chance. I can change this. There was no problem with just, there were so many things in that I'm thankful for.
Wow. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and it created a lot of discipline for me too. In that having to go through the drug testing thing with Kate, like just all of it. It was,
And
it
even
was
in,
an amazing thing.
yeah, and I was gonna say there was all those things that went with that we had to walk through with him. But come on, the greatest gift the three of us, how close we got, and just what an amazing young man that he took that and I look at who he is now, and he's going to be getting married in November. Just
Yep.
Gracie is amazing too, and it's just like God's hand was all over.
You couldn't have dreamt.
No,
No way. There's no way.
and that's where it's like rock bottom moment. Oh my fucking God, what is happening? It's the greatest gift that God gave. It's
So we're still here.
we are still here. Yeah, and we've been saying this for a while to get and do the podcast, and I would say for me, I'm like I have this perfectionism. I want it to go a certain way, and I'm like, finally, it was like, we're just going to do it. We kind of, I don't want to say it was a challenge, but we kind of got.
Never mind. I have to go soldier call and why
So it was like
motivating this because we said we would.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are. So that's our plan, is to come regularly and just share our life, share our story, share what went from rock bottom to a whole different place we're in right now. Because what I know for sure is we are not the only ones that have walked through so much stuff. I just want to share the story. And then maybe somebody else will be inspired by it, be enlightened by it. I just want to be a lighthouse in the world so that I can make a difference. Really, that's what God put on my heart.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
All right. Until next time, Bruce.
How do we sign off? What if we signing off?
Until next time, I don't know.
We'll be here. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, we have there's so many other things I want to talk about. We can talk about the forge, the soul's hammer, all of these things that came in that
T-shirt board.
Okay, that was yours today.
Everyone do that.
Just say it again, because I might have interrupted you. What was that again?
Vision board.
Yeah. So we're not going to say what that is, but it'll be a podcast episode. It's not. That'll be a whole other topic that we can talk about that too. But I was leaving them hanging for what the next thing might be, and I thought that was good.
It's a good one. This is fun, Rene. It's always a treat being blessed with you and your bronze skin. And that's a bit weird.
Why'd you make it weird?
Because it is. You don't really have bronze skin, but you do next to that. Well,
This is just me getting my vitamin D outside. This is what is it.
I'm not arguing. This is not a bad thing.
Okay, as long as you like it, you can. Okay.
As long as you can get past this all, we're in good shape.
I love you, Bruce.
All right. I love you too.